right. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome everyone to today's session on creating interactive text for close reading activities with PlayPosit. It is March 14th, 2024. We're going to get right into it at this time. And so, as we're getting started here, we've got an example on the right side of the screen. You can see this content-specific text paired with some interactions on the sidebar on the left. So feel free to kind of peruse that example there on the screen. And additionally, we would love to hear from folks who are with us live in the chat. What would you like to learn from today's session? And how do you envision using, or maybe you already use interactive text in your instructional practices? So please feel free to share responses to one or both those questions, and we will proceed in about 30 seconds. All right. Additionally, as we're getting started here, in a moment, we're going to share the reference guide or handout for today's session via a bit.ly link that'll pop up on the screen and will also be available for those joining us in the chat. But as that is becoming available, I'll just highlight that for you here on the screen. So we've got our interactive text resource guide that goes along with today's session, and you can bookmark for future reference. It's got a sample bulb, which is our term for interactive video, and a few examples that we will talk about today during the session, as well as a help article to support you in creating some of this content, and some help articles and video tutorials that may be specific to your learning management system, such as Blackboard, Canvas, or D2L, and then a few additional resources there at the bottom. So feel free to go ahead and open up that link that is on the screen, and then bookmark it and save it for future reference. All right. And with that, we will continue on. I'm going to just start by introducing myself briefly so you know who I am. My name is Dylan Blatt, and I am a customer success manager here at PlayPosit, which is powered by WeVideo. I am an instructional design resource, and I work closely with many K-12 and higher education districts and institutions around the country. And my background is in teaching as well and instructional coaching. And so that is the context that I'm bringing to our conversation today. Seeing some thoughts in the chat there. Thank you for sharing those. We'll go ahead and keep those in mind as we dive deeper into today's session. Great. For today's session, our agenda is as follows. We're going to start with a brief overview of PlayPosit for those who are newer to the tool, or maybe a refresher for some folks as well. I'm going to give you an opportunity to experience what the learner experiences when engaging with a PlayPosit bulb. Specifically, it will be an interactive read aloud example. And then from there, we will talk a little bit more about a few examples of interactive text in PlayPosit, trying to cover a broad range of aspects of the tool. And then we'll have a live demo where you'll be able to either watch me or you can follow along, and I'll be sharing a participant guide for you to do just that. And at the end, we'll have some resources and next steps to share for you all. So that's the plan for today's session. Thanks again for taking some time with us today. And at this point, we're going to dive right into the PlayPosit overview. All right. So PlayPosit at its core is an instructional design studio. It allows you to take video content from YouTube, Vimeo, or potentially a private host service and pull that into PlayPosit and then add interactivity within that video timeline. We're also going to talk today a little bit more specifically about how we can add text to the PlayPosit bulbs and layer questions and interactions on top to make it a comprehensive interactive text experience. PlayPosit's a super powerful design studio allowing you to customize the learning experience for your students. As you can see here, we have the instructional design studio in this video right here. On the right is the preview of the video content, but on the left, you're seeing the instructor crafting the questions the responses and the feedback for their learners using our rich text editor, and they're able to even record audio as well to make it more accessible and personalized for students. And so this is just a small preview of what the tool looks like. You can even see here we've got the math equation editor to make it easier for those math lessons as well. Now, I mentioned the word bulb a couple times already, but if you're new to PlayPosit, then I should just let you know that bulb is our term for an interactive video. It just is the word that we use when you've created content in PlayPosit and you are assigning that to your learners. That can be done asynchronously as a self-paced bulb. It can be synchronous using what we call our broadcast functionality, where the teacher or the instructor controls the flow and the pace, or you can actually even assign it as an learner-made bulb, where the learner is the one creating the interactive video content and kind of a student-centered learning approach. So we are going to focus today on the self-paced option using these interactive text ideas, but just know that there are a plethora of options for you available. And if your institution has access to the playlist application, which is really powerful, you can even pull those interactive videos into a playlist with other resources as well. All right. For those who are newer to the tool here, you might be wondering, why might someone use PlayPosit? So just to share a couple foundational benefits, kind of out of the box features that you get. One is accountability. So learners who are engaging with interactive video content, you can configure it so you disable fast forwarding and skipping, and make the active tab player available, which is automatic. And so they are going to be more accountable to staying present, because if they switch windows or tabs, the video will automatically pause. We take accessibility very seriously, and so we do have interactive and searchable transcripts in the sidebar view. You can enable closed captions if you would like, and the tool is screen reader compatible and WCAG 2.3 compliant. My favorite part is the content digestion features. So we have a built-in notepad for learners to take timestamp notes, which they can search and export at the end if they would like. And they can even export a bulb report of all the interactions if you've set it up to allow them to do that. But these are all super easy out-of-the-box benefits that you have access to just by adding video content to the PlayPosit bulb, or in this case, we're going to be talking about adding text as well. So that's a brief overview of PlayPosit. I'll pause here for about 30 seconds in case any questions came up that can be answered in the chat. All right, looks like we're good to continue. So the second part of our session for today is going to be the learner experience. And so you all are going to have a chance to experience that learner perspective, specifically with this interactive read aloud of The Snowy Day, an animated storybook by Ezra Jack Keats. And so the instructions for this part of our session are that if possible, you're going to open an incognito window. Then I'm going to be putting a link in the chat that you can copy and paste. You will be prompted to enter first and last name, but you can also pick the first and last name of your favorite fictional character if you'd like. And then what I want you to do really is take some time. I'm going to give about 5 minutes to engage with the interactions, and you can even share some of your questions or observations inside the chat as you're watching this video. And then if you're done, you can let us know. But after about 5 minutes, we'll pause. I'll share with you some of the data that's being collected as you engage, and we will continue from there. So instructions will stay on the screen. Right now, I'm about to take this link and paste it in the chat for you to access this bulb. There we go. And I'm going to set 5 minutes on my own timer here as we engage. But feel free to let us know in the chat if you have any questions or thoughts as you are engaging with this content and thinking about how PlayPosit can be used for interactive text. All right, welcome back. That was about 5 minutes. So, although not everyone's totally finished, we will pause here. Hopefully, that was enough time to give you just a chance to engage with that content and see what it's like to be a learner and PlayPosit in an interactive read aloud experience. The other reason I wanted to do that activity with you, outside of just giving you that experience, is to show you what the instructor sees. In this case, on my end, from our monitor page. So I am now pulling this into the view here. And so inside of PlayPosit, I have access to the monitor page, which updates in real time as you all are working on this bulb and engaging with the content. All I have to do is hit this little refresh data button in the top right, and I can access this during the time when you all are working or after the fact as well. But just to give you kind of a brief overview of the data that is being collected and allowing you to make some data-driven instructional decisions, we have all the learners here based on the names that you all shared, the status, so how long that someone might have been working for on that content, and then for each of the interactions that have been built out in that interactive video experience, we have the responses here, and some of them are even auto-graded, which if you access PlayPosit through a learning management system, allows you to do gradebook passback, which will save you some time there. You can even drill down into a particular interaction and grade all of them at once, or view that interaction level data for that particular question. And you can click on a specific learner as well and view their attempt or export that as well. So there are different layers to the data here, but just wanted to give you that insight that you have access to this to make important decisions and support learners as they engage with the content. You can even click this bulb analytics button in the top left and get a quick overview of the responses, correct, incorrect by interaction, and the average score and bulb completed status here as well. I think my zoom is just making that look a little bit funny, but typically that looks a little bit more normal. So I'm going to close that out. Great. So that is the learner experience, and then kind of what is available from the teacher's perspective after the fact and during. If there's any questions about that or comments or thoughts, observations that came up, would love to hear those in the chat. But at this point, we are going to go to a couple more examples to give you some ideas for how we can use PlayPosit for interactive text. So the first one is the one that you just engaged with, which is this interactive read aloud example. But just to go a little bit deeper on why that is a powerful use case here, it, number one, engages students, right? Instead of just having that read aloud video, you can add those questions to check for understanding, potentially prompt discussion, and go deeper with the text. And then ultimately, the goal here is not just to engage learners, but to boost their comprehension. So giving them that opportunity to actively participate and hopefully get a better understanding of things like the story's plot, characters, and themes that are present. So these are some of the reasons you can leverage that interactive read aloud. And this can be done with really any video that you have, similar to this one, where the book is being read out loud. And maybe it's even animated like this example as well. You may have noticed inside that example, there were audio recordings as well of some of the questions and answers, and even some images to make it more accessible and easier to approach for some of our younger learners. So I will make sure to note those in our demo later on and show you how to add those advanced features. So that example is maybe geared a bit more towards the elementary audience, but we do have this literature discussion, which can be used maybe for some of the older learners that we have. And so here you're seeing a example of, in this case, it's going to be a poem. I'm going to just fast forward a bit here so you can see. This is a web embed of this poem Harlem by Langston Hughes. And the learners are given a chance to read and process this piece of text. But at the end of this particular bulb, there is not just a handful of different check for understanding questions throughout, but there is actually a discussion question as well, allowing the learners to, here it is right there, to go ahead and engage with their peers and share various perspectives, interpretations of the text, and promote those critical thinking skills. This also creates a space for collaborative learning, where learners can go a bit deeper on analyzing the text and build off of each other's thoughts. So I really like this example because it takes a text, creates that interactivity throughout for checks for understanding and other key pieces, and then closes out and that kind of capstone discussion for learners to engage with their peers. And to do this, all you would need is the website with the text. It could be a PDF of the text, or even just being able to copy and paste it into what's called our pause interaction. And I'm going to demo these in just a bit, but it's flexible in the ways that you can bring that text into this content. The last example I wanted to share with you all is kind of a content-specific text. So in this case, we have, I believe it's a science example here. And this is in what looks like a PDF format for learners to scroll through and zoom and read and kind of annotate as well if they would like. And then it's paired with, on the left side of the screen, some various directions for learners, as well as some checkpoint questions for them to promote comprehension and kind of engage with some of the concepts covered in that text. And this can be deployed, as we talked about, in that self-paced kind of asynchronous way for learners to read and process at their own pace. So far we've seen 3 different examples. The first one, that interactive read aloud, that was built on top of a video layer and added those interactions on top of that. The second 2 were simply just text, but since PlayPosit operates with video underneath, we'll just be able to use kind of a blank 5-second video and then layer our text and our questions on top of that. So the next part of our session, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And I'm going to give you the participant guide to be able to follow along as well. I'm going to pause here before we go into that live demo for any questions, thoughts, or comments as we go. I do have one question here from Hampton, which is a great one. I'll just kind of name that out loud, and thank you, Jason, for the response. You can hide discussion board responses and just reveal the other learner submissions once that learner has commented on their own. That's in the advanced settings inside the discussion interaction. And I can show that when we get to that point in our demo as well. Excellent. And Leah, I see your question. I can go back and double check that as well in just a bit. All right. So with that, we're going to go into the live demo at this point. And in a moment, we're also going to be sharing the participant guide for you to follow along. But before we go there, I'm just going to give you kind of a brief overview of what you're going to see in this demo today. So as I mentioned, there's kind of 2 ways to build out interactive text content in PlayPosit. One is that we add an actual video like that read aloud. And the other is that we add a blank video and then put the text on top of it, which can be through a web embed, like a website, a PDF document, or a pause interaction where we copy and paste the text. So I'm going to show those kind of 2 different demo portions, but in either case, we can still build out those interactions for knowledge checks as well and adjust the playback settings how we would like. So I think just that first decision is key. If you're making content in the future around text-based bulbs, think about if you have a video that you want to layer, or if you have just a text and you can use that blank video there instead. So at this point, we're going to share this participant guide, and I'm just going to kind of show you what that looks like here as well. So here, this is the participant guide for today's session, the demo specifically. So there's going to be 2 parts to the demo. The first one, I'll show you how to build just part of that interactive read aloud with that snowy day animated book. We'll build out a couple interactions, and I'll show you some of those advanced features like adding images and adding audio as well. And then the second part of the demo, I'm going to kind of switch gears and show you how to build out a text-based bulb with no video, just the text itself, which we'll leverage that 5-second blank video to layer the text on top of. We'll use that poem Harlem by Langston Hughes, and we will do this using the web embed PDF, and the pause as different options. All right, and then we'll add a couple interactions to that one as well, just to show the free response and the discussion interaction there. Okay, gonna go ahead and take this link, put that in the chat as well. And actually, it looks like it's on the screen there. Let's see if we can get that in the chat as well. All right, I'm going to paste that in there to see if that helps. Hampton, thank you for letting us know. And we also have a question around bulbs and videos being inserted into a PowerPoint document. I'll leave that one for Jason as well as I continue here with the demo. All right, so at this point, I'm going to hop into my PlayPosit account, and you all can feel free to access yours however you typically do, whether that's through your learning management system or just through the PlayPosit non-LMS workflow. And again, in the handout we shared at the very beginning, we have some resources around accessing PlayPosit depending on your learning management system. All right, so I'm here inside PlayPosit, and I'm going to click that Add New Bulb button in the top left corner to open myself up into this instructional design studio. And if you're following along at this point, let's go to the participant guide, and let's grab that link for the first video we're going to use, Snowy Day Animated Read Aloud. So I'm going to just copy that link, and then I'm going to return back to my PlayPosit studio here, and I'll just choose the input URL option. So I can simply paste that using my keyboard here into the input URL field, and then I'll have my video pulled in. And this is simply a YouTube video that I found that I'm going to be building interactions on top of. So once I've got that video there, I can click Done. And if we go back to our participant guide here, we're going to add 2 interactions to this video. The first one's going to be pause at 0, 0. And so here's the text that I want you to copy and paste. So I'm just going to highlight that, copy where it says text, and then go back to PlayPosit here. And since I want to add this at 0, 0, I can just leave my playhead at the beginning of the video here, and I'll click Add an Interaction. And let's start with this pause interaction here. And for the pause interaction, it's one of our most versatile options for interactivity. You can paste directions, resources, you can add audio here or images. And so this is a great way to kind of share different resources and directions with learners. I'm going to start with this basic direction here of what learners need to do in this video. So I just pasted that in from my participant guide, and I will then just click Done. Now, I mentioned here that the placement is in the sidebar by default, and that's kind of how I wanted it for this example, but I will show you later on how to move some interactions into the main screen if that's where you want to place them. So right now we have 0, 0 pause interaction that will start at the beginning of the video and give those directions for learners. But let's go ahead and go a little bit further to the 26-second timestamp, and let's add this multiple choice question that you might have seen in the example earlier. So I'm going to copy that. This time I'm going to scroll my scrub bar over to 26 seconds, and I'll click Add Interaction. And this time let's choose the multiple choice option here in the top left. So I'm pasting using my keyboard here the question, and then I'm also going to just look back at these choices. They were sunshine, snowflakes, raindrops. So let's just type those in, since I think it'll be faster than copying and pasting. And if you need another answer option, just click that button, Add Answer Option. All right, now this is totally fine at this point. I can just click the snowflakes choice to mark that correct, and then click Done. But I want to make this a bit more accessible for my learners. So here's where I want to show you some of those advanced features about adding images and recording audio as well. Let's start with the audio. So if I want to read this question and the choices for my learners, I can just click in that rich text editor, so right here in the question, and choose the microphone icon, which is our audio feature. And from there, I'll see this blue bar where I can click the record button, the circle on the left, and then record. So I'll do that right now. Oops, let me try that one more time. What did Peter see out the window? Click stop. Then I can click the red button to delete it. I can play it back to hear how it sounds, or I can click the check to include it in my question. So I can do that for any of these choices. If I just simply click into the choice, record audio, sunshine, click the check, and I can do that for each of these as well. Snowflakes. Again, clicking into the answer choice here, clicking the microphone icon, and then recording. Raindrops. Feel free to play around with that audio function now. I'll pause for about 30 seconds if anyone wants to kind of catch up to where we're at here with creating that multiple choice interaction or adding the audio clips. All right, now you might be thinking about images as well. So the other way we can kind of build this out is by adding a picture for each of these choices. So to do that, I've got to do a couple things. First, I've got to find the image. So I'm just going to quickly open a new tab here, and I'm going to search for sunshine image. And if this first one looks good to me, all I have to do is right click it. And there's a menu that pops up when you right click. You just choose copy image address. And again, that's in the participant guide right here. So search for the image, right click it, and choose copy image address. And then when you're in PlayPosit, if you click this image icon, this is the fifth one from the left, you can simply paste into the source field that image address you copied and just click OK. And boom, just like that, we've got the image right there. I can change the size of it as well. Maybe that's too big. That looks good to me. So let's do that again for snowflakes. Again, just search for the image, snowflakes. It'd be helpful if I spelled that correctly. There we go. And maybe I like that one. Right click it, copy image address. Inside of PlayPosit, choose the image icon, paste it into the source field. Click OK. Great. Got my snowflake right there. And one more, raindrops. Let's do the same steps. Search for it. Oh, that's a cool one. Right click it, copy image address. In PlayPosit, click in that answer choice and click the image icon. Paste it into the source field and click OK. Again, I'm going to pause 30 seconds here for anyone catching up who wants to practice adding those images into their choices there. Again, the instructions are right here inside of this participant guide where it says additional features, adding images. So that's right there if you want to refer back to that at any point. All right, and as people are kind of catching up on that portion of the demo, if you click the advanced button underneath these choices here, you can also randomize the answer order or allow more than one attempt, as well as hide the correct answer if it's not selected right away. So you have a few options for going more advanced, but we don't necessarily need to adjust those. We can leave it how it is now, just like this. So at this point, I'm clicking done. And of course, we could build out more. Can I add images questions? Great question, Victor. Yes. Yes, exactly the same way that we just did. If I was inside the question there, I could click that image and paste in the source field there or upload as well. Wherever the rich text editor exists, you can go ahead and add images or text or audio as well. All right, so that's kind of the end of our first part of the demo there. Of course, you can add more interactions, other question types, but for the sake of time for today, we'll pause that part there, and you can kind of continue working on that one, or use that same idea and leverage it for an example you might use in your own instructional practices. But hopefully that's enough for the first part there to give you a sense of how to build that out. Let's shift gears here to our kind of demo part 2, where we have text-based bulb with no video. So this is simply just a text that you have that you're going to assign to learners to engage with in some way, whether it's for comprehension or collaboration, but you don't necessarily have a video layer to go with it. Now you could have both, right? You could have a video and text as well, but let's go with just the text in this case. So here, I'm going to go back to PlayPosit, and let's just kind of save and exit this example here. And let's go to my bulbs and add a new bulb. So I'm now kind of starting fresh, creating a brand new bulb, same way we did before, only this time the URL is going to be a 5-second blank video from YouTube. So I can just copy this one here. You could also just go to YouTube and search 5-second blank video, and that'll work fine. The time doesn't really matter because we're going to put the text and the interactions at kind of at the same point in the video. It'll sort of be timeless, so to speak, so you won't need to worry about the length of that video. So I'm going to paste my URL here. Again, you could go to YouTube and search blank video as well. And then when that gets pulled in, I'll click done. And so now I've kind of got my template here that I can build on top of. And so this video is 5 seconds. I can kind of pick wherever I want to start. Usually I like to just scroll in 1 second into the video, just so that there's a moment when you hit play, and then everything kind of pops up from there. And so at this point, let's go back to the handout. There's 3 ways that are fairly easy to bring in a text. So I'll start with a web embed. So if you go back to that handout and you click this website right here, you can copy that link. This is just a website that has the poem by Langston Hughes there for you. So copy that, and let's say we're at 1 second into the video, we can click add interaction, and in the middle of your menu here is this web embed option. So with that one, you can simply paste in the link and then kind of click out of that field for a moment, and you'll see a preview pop up. Now you could click done, but remember the default placement is on the sidebar, and if I want learners to really see and process this, and I might want to pair it with other questions, then I probably want to place it over the main part of the screen here. So for those who are newer to the tool, you can go to the second step here, placement, click on that, and then you can just simply hover over different parts of the screen to decide where you want to place the interaction. So in this case, I'm going to place it over the full screen here on the right side, and maybe you have more than one piece of text that you're comparing, like a paired passage. You could even add one on the right and one on the left as well. So that's kind of up to you how you want to place those. But I like to, if it's one text, take up the full screen and leave the sidebar for those questions and other directions. So I'm going to click done here. Now, in a moment, I'm going to share the way that you can stack interactions at the same timestamp to kind of pair with each other. But before we do that, let's talk about a couple other ways to bring text in. So one is the web embed. You can simply add an interaction and choose web embed and just paste the URL. I'm going to delete that one for now. Let's say that I want to just copy and paste the text as well. So in this case, I can go to that website, I've got the text, maybe you have it on your computer somewhere, and just simply copy, highlight and copy this text. And then when I'm in PlayPosit here, I can just use a pause interaction. Remember, I said pause is really versatile and flexible. So if you add a pause interaction, you can just paste the text that you have copied. And again, you can do the same step, click placement and put it on the main part of the screen if you would like, or another part based on your needs there. So again, one option is web embed, paste the website in to the web embed interaction. You can use a pause interaction and just literally copy and paste the text there as well. Click done. But the third option is probably my favorite and my most recommended. So I'm going to delete this and let's run with the third option here. The third option is using the PDF file. So in this case, I do have a PDF available via this link. You can either grab a PDF link like the one I have in this guide for you, or if you have a PDF saved on your computer, your device, you can also upload that as well. So let's say I want to add my PDF interaction. I just use this PDF file button here on the right side of the screen. And again, you can paste the link here and you'll see a preview of that PDF, or you can choose a file from your device by clicking that choose a PDF file option. Either way, you've got the PDF pulled in. Now you go to the placement and again, choose how you want to place it on the right, left, in the corner, the full screen, or the sidebar, and click done. I'm going to pause for about 30 seconds so you all can kind of choose which option you're using for your following along of the demo. And then we'll continue by building a couple interactions after this. So take a moment, decide which one you're using, and feel free to grab the appropriate link or text from these options here in the guide. All right. Now, this is something that I think is underutilized but really powerful in PlayPosit, which is adding interactions to a group. So if you have something like a text and you want questions or interactions to pop up at the same timestamp, all you have to do is add them to that group by clicking this button right here. And that's in the guide right here. I put add interaction to group. And let's do 2 interactions. Let's start with a free response. So I want you to go to the guide and just copy and paste this free response question here, which you can use, or if you want to try your own, that's fine as well. And now I'm going to choose free response in the top right corner. And I'm going to just go ahead and use my keyboard here to paste those 2 questions into the rich text editor. Remember, you can still add the audio, add images if that's relevant here, or even attach a file. Maybe there's a particular file you want to share with learners, such as a rubric for the grading here. You also could go ahead and click the gear icon and add some feedback. Maybe you have kind of automated feedback around an exemplar response that you expect from learners, or something that you want to share with them once they've submitted their response. So you can go ahead and do that too, and it'll create a new line for you to type out that feedback there. Again, any of these lines inside the Design Studio are those rich text editors, so you can add the various file types and resources there. All right, so I've got my question. The default is it will show up on the sidebar, which is perfect because that way my learners can see the question on the left and the text on the right as they consider that question or those questions. So I'm going to click done. Now you can continue to add to this group. I'm just going to do one more, which is going to be a discussion interaction. So I'll click that same button, add interaction to group. This time I'm going to click discussion. And someone asked about this earlier, I believe, so we will share that approach now. In the handout here, I've got some discussion questions that you can feel free to copy and paste, or again, type your own. But I'm going to paste those in. Oh, I think I got the wrong one. Let me make sure. Nope, I got that right. Excellent. So here's the discussion question. And just to add a little bit of the advanced mode here, you can click advanced. And this was mentioned earlier. You can click this 5th option here if you want to hide the discussion posts until the learner contributes. That means that anyone else who's responded will be hidden until you as a learner submit your own post, kind of giving you that full autonomy to think through your response without being influenced by others. You also can check the 4th option here to give full points based on submission of comments. That just means participation points for submission. You can uncheck that if you want it to be manually graded as well for your learners and give that feedback inside the monitor page. So those are some of your options for advanced settings here. Again, the default is this will be placed on the sidebar on the left, which is exactly what I want. So I'm going to click done. And just to give you a quick preview here of what this looks like, If I click review and I choose this preview button here, I'll get a new tab with this particular bulb example. And notice plus play, 1 second in, I get my PDF here with the poem, and then I get my first free response question here, which learners can engage with. I'll just type the word test, click continue, and then my discussion prompt here. Let me just make sure I get that. Sorry, I think my configuration might have had a small error there. Let's actually go ahead and make a small adjustment. I'm gonna click that edit button and separate this from the group. And let's take that discussion interaction, and I'm gonna actually change the timing and just move it a second later here as well. So let's try that one more time and see if that adjustment helps. So I'm gonna submit this. First question here, continue. And then here comes my discussion as well. So I can post here and I'll see others' posts as well if they're available. And I can reply to them, edit mine, or delete my post as well. All right. So that is the second example. The one thing that I didn't say yet, which I think is really important to mention, is when you are engaging with the PDF inside of PlayPosit, one of the reasons I really like the PDF here, and I'm just going to go back to the beginning, is that it can be annotated. And so with this PDF, you can comment, you can highlight, you can mark it up, erase, and annotate it in the way that you see fit as the learner. These annotations are not collaborative. They're just for that one learner to mark up for themselves, maybe as they're analyzing before they respond to the prompts. And then they can also click the 3 dots in the top right of that PDF and download the file as well. So those are some of the kind of benefits and features that you have with the PDF that you would maybe not have with the web embed or the pause there. So that's the end of our demo example here. But again, feel free to use this participant guide at any point to refer back to for those tips and tricks we talked about, or for just kind of practicing these skills as well. But let's pause for any questions before we move to our resources kind of final section of today's webinar. All right. In that case, just one more thing to mention before the resources here, which is that learning analytics page. We talked about this a little bit earlier during that learner experience portion of our session, but some of the powerful reasons to use that monitor page with your learners are to give them that individualized support, right? Because you can dive into a specific learner's responses and kind of support their learning gaps there. You can also share feedback inside the monitor page. So you can see here in this bottom screenshot, if you were to click on a particular learner's free response that they've submitted, you can leave feedback for them as well. They can see on their end, in addition to grading it for a certain number of points for quality as well. So you can kind of share that targeted feedback there or other strategies that you might want to share with them. You also can close these gaps in real time because this data is available as learners are engaging if it's inside of a classroom space. You can track their progress because you can always refer back to this monitor page over time and maybe compare to previous content that you've shared with them. So there's many ways to use this tool on that monitor page, but I just wanted to make sure that I shared a couple ideas with you there. All right, PlayPosit is super powerful, so we have a lot of resources to help you along the way. First one to mention is kind of my number one recommendation, which is the customer resources page. We'll be sharing a link for that, I believe, in a moment, but just to show you how to get there easily inside of PlayPosit on the left side menu here, the customer resources page is available, that last option right there. And when you click on that, you'll see things like our PlayPosit Academy, webinars, which you're currently watching one of, the use case library, help articles, and live office hours, typically with my colleague Jason, who is a PlayPosit expert. And so that is kind of this one-stop shop for resources. Additionally, we have our new resource guide. This is an infographic that you all can feel free to refer to and use. I'm going to put that link in the chat now to go a bit deeper with some of the PlayPosit features. And so if you're wondering how to do some of these things, you can simply click the feature here and it will link you to, I'll show this now, the knowledge base article. So let's say, for example, I want to know more about broadcast. I can click that broadcast button there and it'll take me right to the help article for me to read about. So that resource guide is available for you in the chat. That's a kind of one pager to help you out. We've got some great YouTube tutorials that are fairly short and very helpful. That is on our YouTube page, which looks like this. So you can look at the videos there. You can even go to the live section and see some of the previous webinars that we have run and access some of the recordings there as well. And that is simply just searching PlayPosit on YouTube. The tag there is at PlayPosit3737. And this is the link here as well. Thank you, Orion, for adding that. And I mentioned office hours, but just to name that one more time, those are Tuesdays, 11:30 Eastern, Thursdays, 3:30 Eastern for some live support. And again, the link for that is inside of the customer resources page in the bottom middle right here. It says click here to join. So you can just do that at those times and you can get some live support. All right, last but not least, I just have to say thank you very much for taking the time today to learn together. I'll stick around for another minute or so in case there's any questions or thoughts that came up. And I would say, if you have a moment, just share in the chat with us what's one thing that you learned from today's session that you will be able to use in your instructional practices. Or feel free to share how you might plan to use some of these strategies in your instructional practices when it comes to interactive text. But thank you again. We're going to stick around for another minute or two. Feel free to share with us your thoughts. I'll put those questions in the chat here as well. And if you are good to go, then have a great rest of the day and weekend as well. That's great, Leah. I think that's a perfect use case in that asynchronous class. So feel free to assign it in the self-paced way and let learners kind of work at their own pace there. A lot of folks use PlayPosit for kind of that blended learning model as well, which I think is really helpful. Awesome. I'm glad that you found this helpful as well. All right, we are going to stick around for 30 more seconds. Victor, images and interaction timing, very nice. So a couple of those small tips there to really make it fancy. Perfect, thanks so much. All right, we will pause here. But again, you have the resources available if you need with the customer resources page, the help articles, and the YouTube page as well. But feel free to join us for some future sessions here. The webinars can be found here at this link. And that is available at wevideo.com/webinars/PlayPosit. You're watching the one that is right here today, but we've got another one on the 28th and the 4th as well. So feel free to check those out. Or you can always watch the recordings after the fact if you aren't able to join at that time. Great. All right, we will pause here. Thank you again for the time, for your energy, and hope you have a great rest of the week and weekend.